Welcome into Stone Cold Stros. I'm Brandon Strange. I'm joined by senior content contributor Charlie Palillo. Follow him on Twitter at Palillo. Read his weekly column on sportsmap.com. The guy next to him, Josh Jordan. He's the editor of sportsmap.com. Follow him on Twitter at JoshJordan975. Please be sure to hit like on this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. The full version of this podcast is available in audio form right now at places like Apple and Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. And when you're not watching Sports Map content, please be sure to listen to our sister platform, ESPN Houston 97.5 and 92.5 on your radio dial. Gentlemen, welcome in.
Number 30, you said, right?
Number 30.
Well, fortunately, the Astros get back home with a white-hot, red-hot not enough, Kyle Tucker, because it's no fun going with a current Astro, but number 30 is a very slim pickings number in Astros history. So just for the cringe-worthiness of them, I'm going to say Carlos Gomez and Matt Dominguez.
I wondered if you'd go with Carlos Gomez. I'm going to go with Luke Scott, who 17 years ago this month became the Astros' first rookie to hit for the cycle. I was at that game.
There you go.
Yay me. So anyway, well, let's get right into it. We're going to give away some midseason awards like we teased later on. But first, we'd be remiss if we didn't get into some of the implications from the Lone Star Series. The biggest matchup of the short season so far, the Astros trying to claw their way back to contention for the division. The finale was set up to be one kind of statement. Turns out to be another kind of statement by the end of the game. The Astros do take 3 of 4 in Arlington with no Yordan, no Fromber, no Pena, no Brantley, but I don't even think that counts anymore. We'll talk more about that later. Another ominous update regarding Uncle Mike. I wore this shirt today because I badly needed to remember that this team is the reigning champs. Charlie, have the Astros done anything in the first half of the season to change your mind that they cannot defend their title?
Oh, no. This team as constructed can win the World Series. This team as constructed could also miss the playoffs entirely. There's a wider spectrum of possibilities on the downside just with where they are. But taking 3 out of 4 in Arlington, that ho-hum, uneventful pitcher's duel on Monday, had they wound up losing that game, it would have been easy for people to be looking for sharp objects and windowsills and all that. That would not have been the day the season died. They wouldn't have been emotionally devastated for the rest of the season. But just the real world outcome of the swing with the Rangers. From 5 games out, they now play out the last week before the All-Star break, starting just 3 games out, 2 games versus the terrible Rockies, 4 games here against the Mariners. While the Rangers are on the road for 3 at Boston, the Red Sox are a real good last-place team, then 3 at Washington. Don't know me, get much help from the Nationals. But you look at the schedule out of the All-Star break, it is serious advantage Astros over the first 3 series out of the break before the Astros and Rangers play at Minute Maid Park, July 24, 25, 26. The Rangers have series with both the Rays and Dodgers among their first 3 out of the break. The Astros have a real chance to overtake the Rangers by the end of this month. Had they lost 3 out of 4 to fall 7 back, deep trouble, July 4th to be 7 games back. So to be within 3, the fight is very much on. There's still ebb and flow. Right? The Astros didn't break the Rangers. The Rangers still have the lead. But to go a little small picture on this, just that win Monday. Had they lost, the Rangers would lead the season series 4-3. Instead, it's Astros 4-3. You play 13 games, so if they split the remaining 6, the Astros win the season series. That could be a division tiebreaker, right? There is no game 163. The season series decides it, right? The Astros have already lost the season series to the Toronto Blue Jays if you're with them for a wild card, right? Haven't dealt with the Yankees yet, haven't faced the Orioles yet. But on multiple levels, the emotional one probably foremost for fans, but winning that game Monday was substantial.
They needed that, but it was one of those wins that also kind of felt like a loss, not just giving up all the runs, but Christian Javier is broken, so if you ask, have I seen anything through the first half of the season that makes me worried? Come playoff time, yeah. If they don't have Christian Javier to go along with Fromber, that's just not enough. They got to get that figured out with him. So I'm excited. There was a great win. But Christian Javier has got me really concerned.
His stuff has deteriorated significantly over the last 5 starts, earned run average 9.14. Now, with the invisible fastball, he wasn't someone who blew hitters away by touching 98, 99, just pure gas. But, losing a mile and a half, 2 miles per hour off that fastball, it seems pretty visible quite regularly. Touching 92, maybe 93, maxing out on the gun. He struck out 4 and 4 1/3 against the Rangers, but only 10 strikeouts over his last 5 starts combined, giving up well over a hit per inning, mixing in walks, torched by the home run ball. Now, the Astros have been gaming the pitching staff a little bit, up and down. Sean Dubin after 1 start, Bielak just coming back, Ronel Blanco down. That's just to fill in starts here and there. But when you send a pitcher down, he has to stay down for 15 days. I would really suggest if they have, maybe you do a bullpen day, as long as Fromber can make a start later in the week so you don't have to go bullpen days back to back. Shut Javier down, whether it's a dead arm, whether it's a funk, a crisis of confidence brought on by a dead arm and a funk. Give him some extended downtime rather than pitching him Saturday, right? You skip that start, then you have the All-Star break. You backload him in the rotation out of the All-Star break, and he can have the better part of 2 weeks for a refresh, a reset. We've talked some in the past that Javier blew past his career high in innings pitched last season. On pace to blow past his career high in innings pitched again this season. Though a faint silver lining of getting knocked out in the 3rd and 5th innings in a couple of starts does limit the innings count a little bit. But I really think that Christian Javier is probably paying the toll for the workload of last year along with this year, because it's not as if it's bad luck or just an off start. It's 4 times in 5 now that he has been shellacked.
And regardless of whether it's decided by Dusty or not, when Christian Javier is pitching right now, it is a bullpen day. The real question is what is he handing that bullpen? What kind of deficit is he handing over to that bullpen? And the series finale, the Astros can't hold an 8-run lead. And so there's been some real, that game specifically, a microcosm of the emotional roller coaster that this season has been. But again, you can't take away from the fact that this was done without Fromber. Fromber missed a day with that torn ankle. Pena with the stiff neck missed the entire series. And obviously Jordan still making his way back. At least Jordan appears to be on the track back. We haven't gotten an update. I haven't seen an update yet on Pena, but you would hope he would be back shortly. But the fact that the Astros have been able to piecemeal a lineup together that's was able to put up 12 runs in the finale against Arlington. And then Charlie, you mentioned the piecemeal that they're doing in the rotation right now with a combination of Blanco and Dube. These guys weren't even expected to see time at the major league club this year. And right now they're playing and being productive in really important games as you're trying to tread water until maybe you get an Urquidy back or until Christian Javier figures this out. But if you're watching, Charlie's got, and I have to digress here just because Charlie's got kind of the open shirt Jose Abreu style going on. So I'm going to ask you about Jose Abreu's turnaround, because I think this is also something that, don't button it up, Charlie. It's something that is also kind of emblematic for the first part of this season, because we talked about a possible regression to the mean when Abreu got out to that awful start. We talked about, well, look, if he regresses back to the mean, that means he could be at any point turn white hot. And we acknowledge that that doesn't necessarily have to happen statistically, but many times it does, especially for a guy who is notorious for getting off to slow starts. Well, Abreu, sure enough, scuffled hard. He's turned white hot to regress back to his former stats. His last 7 games have been really impressive. His last 30 have been impressive. What are you seeing from Abreu, Charlie? And can he maintain this torrid pace that he's on right now?
Well, he's not going to maintain it. Finishes the road trip 14 for 37. That's a 378 batting average. That's a hot spurt. But if he settles in as an 800 OPS guy, because he was just an anvil dragging down the lineup, I mean, just now, his OPS for the season is up to 650. A 650 OPS is terrible. But Abreu was in the low 500s a month or so ago. And, I don't think Dusty's running around, to be fair, taking credit for, I stuck with him. This was inevitable. Because if Dusty was to do that, it would force some snarky types to point out that, Dusty, where Abreu really got rolling going on this road trip is when he finally sat 3 days in a row. So over the remainder of the season, I think the Astros need to be cognizant of the fact, Dusty needs to be cognizant of the fact that Abreu is 36 and a half. He faded terribly last season in the power department. Right? He basically became a singles hitter, and he slapped out a good number of them. But the power fell off a cliff back half of August and then all of September. So particularly when you get Yordan back, Abreu should not start 155 games. So in terms of mechanics, because we'd heard a couple different things at different points, I don't have a specific answer on that any more than I think Alex Cintron had a specific answer on that. But Abreu sitting up in the coffin, obviously a godsend. Kyle Tucker, an absolute monster of a road trip. And Chas McCormick now for over a month has been batting over 300 with an OPS of about 950. Still striking out a lot, but when he's been making contact, it has been routinely smash hard contact. Now, I don't think he's going to be a 950 OPS guy the rest of the way. But hey, Dusty in the lineup virtually every day. Enough of the trying to slice the bread to feed the ducks. Corey Julks, Jake Myers, McCormick, I think it was last week, discussed that he's actually leveled out the wide platoon advantage in the past where he clobbered lefties, right-handed pitching, just snuffed him. Not the case to this point in the season. And just the one other guy I want to mention is Altuve. His presence atop the lineup is just, well, ironically enough, huge. The power that he brings, right? He's not batting 300, but he's been drawing walks at a rate he's never drawn them before in his career. So the on-base percentage coupled with the power, right? OPS, he's in the mid-8s. And as it works out, well, of course they missed Altuve, right? Dubon was tremendous as a fill-in for Mauricio Dubon. He's not close to Altuve as an offensive player. But now with Pena down, Pena having a disappointingly very mediocre season offensively, they have not lost anything offensively with Dubon replacing Pena over the last 4 games. So Altuve, Dubon, way better as a middle infield offensive combination than Dubon, Pena.
When would we see, you talked about Chas McCormick and his production. What does Dusty have to see for him to get that everyday starting role in center field now? Like you said, he's reduced his splits. Jake Myers has gone back to the production that we're used to seeing from Jake Myers. What does he have to do?
I mean, feels like he's doing it. I mean, Dusty's just got to put him in the lineup every day. I mean, he's been fantastic. I mean, let's see, his last 7 games, he's slugging 583. His last 30 games, he's slugging over 500. So it's been consistent. And he's so great on defense. And you could just feel the momentum shift when he makes a big play or gets a big hit. You can tell the team really feeds off him. And to act like that stuff doesn't matter, I think is crazy. And, I saw reports that maybe the Astros would look to move him because he wasn't playing regularly every day. Please don't do that. There's something about Chas that's special. You saw it last year in the World Series. He's doing it right now, and they need it right now. He has been really big for them when they needed a little bit of help. And it's just kind of funny. It seems like Abreu's fixed, and now Javier's broken. It's just one of those seasons where it's like every time something kind of gets going in the right direction, something else breaks down on your car. It just kind of feels like that with the Astros this year.
It's a left-handed bat that Dana Brown figures to be in the market for because I have a giant fork that's just out of my reach, but looks like we can stick that in Michael Brantley. So that he will come back to give you a third left-handed thumper in the line. Well, not a thumper, but good hitter, along with Yordan, knock on wood, that he stays healthy once he's back, and Kyle Tucker. But that McCormick, Myers, Julks are all right-handed hitters. Not that Corey Julks has any trade value. Not that Jake Myers really has any trade value. You can't trade McCormick right now. He's one of your 3 best offensive guys until Yordan gets back at this point anyway. So, if you can add a left-handed complement to the outfield mix, I think that's the market that Dana Brown is in. as well as probably a starting pitcher.
And as James Click set precedent for, is you can't reward bad behavior. And so if you can't get rid of Chas McCormick, Dusty wouldn't stop playing Miles Straw in the outfield over McCormick. So Miles Straw had to go away. And so I think, something has to happen to where maybe that choice and that decision's taken out of Dusty Baker's hands, which is weird to say for a Hall of Fame manager, that you're literally going to have to take a piece away from him because he's negatively impacting your team. That has been kind of the story about Dusty Baker. You say what you want to him. He trusts his guys to a fault. And that's going to be it for part 1 of Stone Cold Stros. To listen to the full podcast, it's up right now at your favorite podcast provider, and watch the rest of the conversation. All you got to do is just check out the Stone Cold Stros playlist right here on YouTube. We will be posting the rest of those videos shortly. And as always, go Stros.